These are my 8 decisions. These are my 8 decisions. The decisions for success. These are my 8 decisions.
Will Sacks, podcast number 3.
Yes, I'm interviewing you today.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome, Bobby Hartline.
Thanks for having me.
So I want to talk today about some of the stuff we've been jamming on and this culture as a service offering.
Yes.
And so to give a little background, when I was running my company, I found out about EOS and it blew my mind. I was like, how come nobody told me that there was an operating system for businesses? Like I had been just trying to figure it out myself for 7 or 8 years. And then got into it and started to implement it and actually worked with some other of my coaching clients to implement it for them. But then soon realized that there's a disconnect between the management team and leaders of the company who go through the EOS process and then the whole rest of the company. So I'd like to start off there. Can you talk a bit about what is that disconnect and how do you experience that in your work as an implementer?
Yeah. I mean, I spend my time with clients doing 3 roles. I'm a facilitator. I help to get the healthy conversations out on the table. I'm a teacher of the tools of EOS. And last but not least, I'm a coach. I see them play the game of business and entrepreneurship. And we spend a vast majority of our time in an offsite deciding on a 2-page document that in EOS we call the VTO, the Vision Traction Organizer. It's just a 2-page strategic document of the direction of the company. And ultimately, when we onboard someone to EOS, we're going to spend 24 hours in a room away from the business, working on the business. And a lot of things happen in that room. A lot of things are considered, options played on the table for us to decide on and do. And then we as a leadership team have to make a final decision on what we are actually going forward with. There's a lot of consideration that happens in that room.
Right. And so what gets decided goes on that 2-page document, right?
Yeah.
But as you're talking, I'm thinking, man, a 2-page document is so boring for people in the company.
Oh, it is. It is. And that, I mean, that's the other thing is in that 2-page document, if you do what we call the EOS rollout, which is you're taking that 2-page document and you're literally going to the team, hopefully in a face-to-face meeting and explaining what this direction is. And that's the fumble that a lot of leadership teams do, because there was a lot of good conversation that happened in that offsite that you kind of wish there was a little bit of transparency for the whole organization to see how the sauce was made, to know that they were considered in all these key decisions. And it's critically important that the leadership team leaves that offsite with an alignment that they have made a decision together, and that is the decision. And you can't have one parent saying one thing and the other saying the other thing. I mean, part of EOS is just learning that you are to be a good leader. You're also a great parent. So, I have been having this sensation that we spend all this time and energy in an offsite, and sometimes they're fun and sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
The experience of an offsite for a lot of people can be stressful, but it should be a high energetic experience. And, I just have this feeling, and I've been talking to you about it, like there's got to be another way to do this so that when we go to the rest of the organization, we can really have them feel what it was like to go at least partially way through the experience of doing that offsite.
Right. Because all that comes out of it is this 2-page piece of paper. And then I can picture some manager in a meeting with their direct reports with the 2-pager talking through. It's like a giant game of broken telephone, because all the nuance, all the consideration, all the hard decisions of weighing one thing against another and then deciding, okay, we want to do both these things, but we're just going to do this for this quarter. that's all probably lost. And every level you go down the organization, it gets just more and more convoluted and obscured, and until you can picture people in a meeting just not giving a shit about this 2-page document and all the energy and love that went into making those decisions. And
Yeah.
so what do you do about it?
Yeah. I mean, that's the big question, is what do you do about it? And that's, I may be an EOS implementer, but at heart, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a problem solver. I look at everything as a unique opportunity. Am I just destined to solve this particular thing? The rollout of EOS, how do we make that meaningful and powerful? And, with our relationship, learning about each other and your passion for music. And when I'm in spaces with people doing live music, I am recognizing the power to bring up emotion. Either it's bringing up an emotion through song, where we're singing and group singing, there's just harmonies that happen, or like I'm inspired when I see someone perform, which often happens to me. I get inspired, people stepping into their strength of creativity, because I look at producing music and producing a business is kind of the same thing in my head. In my head, it's just creation. And when I see someone painting, doing art, or crafting something out of nothing, I'm like, that is entrepreneurship. It's all the same to me. It's just creation, right? And it just kind of reminds me that music needs to be part of the equation of crafting something beautiful, because the 2-page document is it's not just a 2-page strategic document. It is a symbol of energy. It's a mathematical equation of the level of energy in different aspects that the energy exists in this planet. It's absolutely a formula that you're deciding on. This is my magic formula. This is my Coke. This is my McDonald's. This is whatever your brand is. That 2-page document is simply the secret sauce that we are moving forward with. Now, if I release the secret sauce, right, and nobody buys it, and that's the beautiful thing of EOS, because we come back every quarter. What's working? Most of the organizations I work with already have a fundamental model that's already working. So EOS is not usually for that startup, because you need a product that works, that you figured out the model. And often you have to pivot so many times. EOS just makes it very cumbersome. It can work for some people, but where you see the real value is a company already has a little steam, but they've reached that plateau. We call it hitting the ceiling. They're not growing. They're not elevating. And that's when we sit down and figure that out. But, because I've watched you and you're creative and how you can improv and you can spin energy and see like, oh, there's a lot of hot topic around this. And in my head, I'm like, wow, what if you created a little jam that we're doing, like we're in a session, we're in a EOS session. It's not boring. There's like a mood in the room. There's music. Maybe there's a couple of musicians just kind of jamming. And when we feel like this energy swirling around the room, you start a song and people are like starting to sing along with this. And it may sound goofy, but I think what we're trying to do is really get to the essence of what we're trying to really do. And what is the real problem? Often when you're solving issues, we spend so much time on the heady.
Totally. I mean, that's been my experience in entrepreneurship. Is it gets so heady.
Yeah.
There's spaces where the heart and the rest of the emotional body is not welcomed or addressed or made explicit. And there's so many instances in meetings, and I've done offsites. I've been in offsites where there's a subtext and that doesn't get brought up.
Yeah.
And then the problem doesn't get solved, whether it's some interpersonal conflict or disagreements between two people, or if it's somebody doesn't trust the leader and that doesn't get brought out and say like, hey man, I don't actually trust you in this area because of XYZ. And having those conversations, those are the breakthrough conversations that actually end up aligning people in real life at a deeper level.
Yeah. And I, as you're talking about it, you just made me think about how important it is that we would have some kind of pre-prepared songs for certain topics that are meaningful. Like the word trust. What is trust? What is the ability to be in a room and be totally vulnerable because you trust everyone in the room? You trust that I'm going to say something deep in my heart and I'm not going to face any consequences for me showing up as my true self. But a song could unlock that for the whole room to recognize what trust is the ability to be vulnerable in a room full of people. And that could be ugly sometimes, because it could mean that someone in that room is not the right person in the right seat for the company at that stage. Now, they could excel in another organization and do all sorts of things, but we're holding on to this one person. It's holding us from going to our next level, and we're holding them back from their greatness, right?
Yep.
A song sung at the right timing could build that energy, so we could actually do a people analyzer tool in a way that was loving, and it wasn't, oh gosh, we got to get rid of this person, into we need to let this person fly, because they're going to leave here and maybe they're hurt, right? But I almost can guarantee you someone, or you're the person that you were let go of somewhere and you excelled because of that loss.
Yeah,
that
you didn't necessarily want to leave, but it was the catalyst
the best
for you to
thing
step
that
in.
ever happened to you. And we got to remind leaders that, because so many times we hold on to people because, yeah, we love them. But do you love them enough to let them go?
Yeah.
That's love. That's love.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk more about this, the process of getting the decisions, the emotional content, the love, the vibe that the leadership team sets in the offsite disseminated into the organization. So we've been talking a lot about music, and the reason is because music is the medium of emotion. Music is literally the way we transmit emotion, and that's why it's so powerful. And so bringing music as one of the components into the room for the EOS sessions, and then using the power of music as the conveyor of emotion to actually get the emotion of the session into the organization in all those middle management meetings when that 2-pager is being disseminated. Instead of the 2-pager, what could we create? And that's brought us to our current offering.
Yeah. And, I've used this word with you called culture as a service. Why is there not a place that I can go and pay a monthly fee to help my leadership team bring in culture? And it's really as a service, because there are some fundamental tools that exist that you can help navigate. EOS is a tool, but there's another tool that has to be brought into motion. And I think part of that is taking the session and recording the 8-hour EOS session, and then taking bits and pieces of the most important things that were brought into the conversation and making them a thing. Meaning,
like making a movie of it, right?
Imagine an album of your fourth quarter, and you take this 8-hour experience and you condense it down to maybe something consumable. Maybe it's a 20 minutes or an hour. Maybe it's a little bit of musical theater, and it does a couple things. It shines the light on what are our key priorities, 3 to 7 key priorities for the company. Where in the company has our core values shown up in the workplace? Storytelling of individuals embodying the core values of the company, shaping and shifting a customer's experience where they are a raving fan. They love us because our employees love what they do because they understand their why. See, the reason EOS rollouts don't work because there's employees never having a conversation about why they're there.
Yeah.
And often I talk to leaders all the time that don't know their own why. CEOs don't even know why they're there. Now, they would say if you would, have a walk with them, it would probably land to, I landed in this role. I wasn't expecting this, I was pushed in this position, or my dad said I should do this. It's my dad's company. And it became a thing they did for money. And that is a really difficult place to be powered by, because there is a deeper why. And it doesn't take long to find your why. And I believe in my heart that when leaders understand their why and they embody that, and it's just their energy, that they don't have to think about where their energy comes from. It's just powering it's their source. They're in their unique ability. They're in the right seat. They're just flowing. They can't distinguish, is this work or is this play?
Yeah.
I don't really know, but I just flow.
That's the juice.
Yeah. And that is something that leaders must be willing to help their team have that conversation. Because I don't care what role you have in the company, there is a why that you can discover, that you can be in love with what you do. I don't care how it comes about, but it will often only happen from a leader who is powered by this source.
Right. And then the question is, how do you get that into the organization so that everybody understands the greater context of why does this organization exist? Why do our quarterly goals matter? Why does any of this matter? And so how do you get that to the janitor, the person, the admin person, the middle managers, even the vendors, people that you have contractual relationships with?
Yeah. I mean, it goes deeper than that, because a lot of people think that, they hear quarterly rocks. In EOS, we call them company rocks. But when you fully embody EOS all the way, I mean, I'm talking going all the way, you have individual rocks. So that janitor has some rocks of their own. I always tell leaders, help them decide on some of their own rocks. Now, you may give them a rock, you give them a task or something that you want to see done. But I promise you, there's a member of your team that has $1 million idea that if they were just, they see how broken something is, and they're just going through the motions and been doing it like this for so many years,
right?
Haven't said anything, and they know it's costing this company tons of money.
And they know how to fix it.
And they know how to fix it more than anybody.
Yeah.
And most of the organization have no clue.
And they're probably telling their spouse at night or their buddies or whatever, this thing is so broken. I have an idea. I want to fix it. And so unlocking that potential is a big opportunity.
One thing I did in my organization when I had this huge ops team, and all I did when I would talk to my leader, talk to my company, I was recognizing salespeople over and over and over, recognizing their performance. Even my phone techs, I recognized their ability to charge for their services, right? So I was ranking all my employees, right? But how do you rank an ops person? How do you rank someone that's in the numbers all day? How do you gauge their performance? And so I came up with this idea, and I stole it from someone else. This is not my original idea, and it was really simple. And that is, during Christmas, I would ask that you would submit a project that you committed to, an individual rock or something that you decided to do to the betterment of the organization, whether it's going to save us money, make us money, whether it just made our processes better, whatever it is, you would submit a presentation of what was it that you solved, how did you solve it, and what was the impact. And they would give us this PowerPoint presentation, and I had $25,000 in a pot. And I would take these presentations. Sometimes I had 10 presentations, and I had some judges, and then we allotted the value that equated for each one of these. And I had one person that went to a show and found this thing called liquid glass, and it was this accessory that was like this liquid bottle that I was paying $8 for and selling for $45. It made a dramatic impact on our bottom line. And I was able to reward that for someone who made these discoveries for us.
That's cool.
And so, the ability to be given a project so you can feel the satisfaction of achievement is a powerful motivating force beyond what you get paid.
Totally.
Knowing that you made an impact.
Right. It's like the feeling between intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation, what I think Simon Sinek has talked about. It feels different when you have an impulse of, God, I want to fix this thing. It's so annoying and I'm going to go fix it. That feeling versus you're being dictated from on high. Hey, you need to do this, and you might not be on board with it or not. So there's such a difference there.
And what I'm excited about, like, someone shows up in your life for wild reason. You showed up in my last December before last, 17th, came to one of my events. We got to spend some time together. I got to see you in motion live in music, and I'm always inspired. And I'm like, I know that this is not everyone. Not every EOS client would be willing to bring music into the room because they are so heady. They can't think outside the box. They like the box. I don't want to be in a box, I want to take their company to a whole nother level.
Right. And the box is really keeping a wrap on emotion because, again, music is the language of emotion. So it's really, do you want to bring more emotion, more stoke into your organization, more realness, more vibe into your organization, so that when you're at work, you can feel more at home. You can feel like all of you is welcome.
Yes. Yes.
So for a leadership team that wants to do this, what does that look like for them?
Well, it looks like being comfortable with the session being recorded and giving leaders the ultimate control of how the video is disseminated down to the rest of the organization. Obviously there would be some cost involved with producing, and I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. And I realize there are so many amazing songwriters and creatives that have not figured out how to live. Most of them have several jobs and they cannot do their art full time. I think I could be a conduit. There is 850 EOS implementers around the world. Now, how many songwriters there are? This infinitely times that by 10,000, right? Of these people that could come into a room and take that spark of fire, that energy, and make it so bright, so strong that you're activating the leaders who take this content and they share this light to their team. They start having these deeper conversations. They start having the why conversations. They start getting people excited about what they're doing. Customers see what this company is becoming. They're like, man, I'm inspired by this person I do business with. And guess what? I want to create that. I think there is something there, and I'm excited where it's going to go. So if you're watching this and you're like, I don't know what this is, but I'm interested, let's jump on a call. Let's talk about how we can craft that. The initial experience I'm going to do here in Hendersonville. I have this lake house, this studio. And you know, the studio I'm talking to you in right now is the studio we would do this. We would mic leaders up, would have video, and really, how do I tell the core values of the organization in a way that people really get it? Because the way we come up with core values embodies employees that are the right fit in the organization and understanding who they were and bringing that as part of the core values. The core values of any organization is who they are. It's not who they are trying to be.
Right.
You just are this, and you just want to be more of this. And we can bring that out, and storytelling and video and music merged together be a powerful force to get an EOS rolled out in a way that was from a heart space, not just some core value slapped on a wall that nobody even lives.
Totally. So, and then just let's talk logistics and brass tacks. So a normal session is how much for, what does a normal company pay to
well,
do a normal EOS?
For my, I charge $5,000 for a team to be in a space with me and do a 7 to 8 hour session. Generally, this will cost more. We'll take an artist like you, bring you in the space. You'll do this performance that'll, you'll be there for the whole experience. And this is something that we would work and give you a price on. And then I think there's some opportunity for the creator to help craft the story, take those 8 hours of content and using AI to pick out the most important pieces and really organize it in such a way that it can be disseminated. You could make it an hour, or you can make it 20 minutes. You can make it 3 minutes. You could make it 90 seconds. I think there's a lot of experimentation is yet to be discovered. But most importantly is, making sure that the essence of why the decisions were made in that room come out so everybody really understands it.
Right. And what's that worth to the organization is the question.
Yeah.
It's like, what is it costing the organization to not have all that context and nuance actually disseminated to everybody in the organization?
I mean, here's the question I'd have for you. What would be your company if everyone was 100% on board and they had their why discovered? And this is not an overnight process. It takes time. It takes iterations. It takes trial and error. It takes love, energy to do this work. And once they feel it, like all of the employees feel it, I mean, I cannot tell you how many companies that I'm working with right now, their number one issue is recruitment. And I keep telling them, the best people already know your best people. Your best people just need to talk about what you guys do here.
Right.
And
Your
get them
best
to
people-
come to work with you because they love their friends.
I love
And they
that.
want to hang out with their friends. And it's not only that, it's like, hey, do you have a formal referral policy? Is it lucrative? It should be. It should be so lucrative. The wife of a key member of your team is on Facebook talking about how awesome her husband loves his job. And there's an open position. How many friends does she know on Facebook that could be an ideal candidate? And she could even be in the post like, don't apply here if you're not loving life. You're not
Right.
a positive person.
Right.
I don't want negative people around my husband. My husband makes good money at this place, loves his job. And you know what? That love shows up with his involvement with his kids and me. So like, we should be doing what we love with people we love. And that is the essence of what we're trying to do. Allow employees to understand they can love where they are. They can love their team. And how do you grow more love, you bring more people that you love to be around, right?
Totally.
And we have that ability.
Yeah. Wow. And so recruiting, huge area of expense, frustration, but could also be a huge area of competitive advantage for companies that do this right and actually disseminate the culture to everybody. So what other areas?
Well, it's systems and processes. I think a lot of people gloss over when it comes to process, and people are doing very important things, but not understanding what they're missing and how much that missing component costs a relationship with the customer, a relationship with an employee. I mean, I could not tell you, it took me so long to figure this out. We had a HR person who would book interviews with a store manager and not clearly communicate with the store manager that a interviewer was coming to interview at a store. And so person would walk into the store. Hey, I'm Julie. I got an interview with Tom. And the employee was like, who? Tom? Oh, and what's your name? Okay. Once you have a seat, I'll be right with you. You're about to work with this person and you're going to treat them like they are just somebody off the street. Like the interview started when they walked in the door. As the employee, I'm interviewing that person.
Totally.
And so number one, I'm going to put my best foot forward and be like, hey, welcome.
So great
I'm so excited to meet you. Yeah. This is where I work. This is what I do. The coolest thing I do here is people come and buy phones, and I love to connect with people, and I get to connect with all kinds of people at this place. I have fun. Oh, let me get Tom. And Tom walks out like, dude, Julie, good to meet you. Like experience. That was not the experience I had.
Right.
And it was costing me so many good potential hires because they got a shitty experience. And guess what? They took the shitty experience and still took the job. And many of them didn't last. But it wasn't until I made it a point to love them as soon as they walk in and love them when it was their first day. When their first day, is their computer ready? Do they have their logins and passwords? Did you show them where to park? They don't get towed. Did you share with them what the best place to eat? Did you show them where to put their purse? Did you show them how to wear their uniform and how to get another uniform? And hey, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. You got a size too big. It looks too big and bulky on you. Let's get you another shirt. Love on them. And when they are starting and they're learning, they're trying to figure it out. They're going to make mistakes. Love on them when they make the mistakes. When they make a mistake, go, hey, you know what? Dude, I did the same thing. This is so funny. We got this. High five. Like, pick their spirits back up, right? Because what are employees doing when they show up the first couple of weeks? Terrified. They're going to screw it up. They weren't paying attention to training.
It really sets the tone for the entire time that they're at the job.
Yeah. And all of that. And if you could get your people to not quit, I mean, we knew that our within 60 days was critical. If they can't make it to 60 days, I mean, we had a high turnover rate under 60 days that was on our scorecard. And with attention, we were able to drastically reduce that. And a lot of it had to do with getting the experience right. From the very moment that a new hire came into the space, and that was game changing. And, that's why this culture as a service is this nuance. And it's not just culture from an employee-employer relationship. It's the culture with the relationship with the customer that walks in.
Right. That's what I was going to say next. It also extends to that interface between the company and the customer in every interaction, which is thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of interactions that are happening every day.
Yes.
It's like, what a game changer, right? When you interact with a company and you immediately get someone who loves their job and is loving on you as the customer and is appreciative of you, that's a totally different experience than somebody who's checked out, doesn't give a shit, and is just
And
doing
I
their
could
job.
sit with any employee that was coming to work for me. I would be sitting in a store and I would sit as a customer. I would sit like off to the side and just kind of witness, because we had a 5-step process.
How many stores did you have again?
We had 78.
78 stores.
And we had a process when someone walked in the door that we followed. And the first step was stand and greet them at the door, meaning I did not want to have a cash register station between me and the client. I wanted to show them I cared enough about them that I stood up and I walked up to you and I looked you in the eye. That automatically said the thing I want to say is that I care about you enough to get off my fanny and greet you. That made a huge difference. And the number 2 was say their name. And so I would greet them. Hi, welcome to Sprint. My name's Robert. What brought you in today? The person would say, I'm Will, looking for a phone for my son. Will, thanks for coming in. I really appreciate you coming in. Will, again, my name is Robert, and get you started today. Will, what kind of phone does your son have today? Will.
Yeah.
What is Will? Will is a virtual hug I can give you right now that lets you know, again, I care about you. So we had a 5-step greeting process. When you feel that energy that I can take someone that's having a shit show of a day, right? And they walk in, and I was in the phone business. So half the people that walked in lost their phone. The phone didn't work. Could you imagine the pressure that, no, we all have found that experience. We've lost our phone. You're like, holy snikers. People's worlds fall apart when their phone is not available. Hell, people think, oh shit, Will's mad at me because he won't call me back. Well, Will's lost his phone. Will's opportunities for new business can't receive. His connections are wondering, where is Will? So Will walks in like, and so I had to get the employees to understand this frustration that they felt because they didn't have their phone, anger sometimes, right? It's not directed to you. They're stressed. If you can show them that you care about them, they're going to love you.
Yeah.
They're going to love you.
Totally. And that goes with so many businesses, right? Because you're always trying to, when a customer walks in the door, generally they're trying to solve a problem.
Yeah.
And some empathy is going to help them feel, oh, okay, thank God. This person's going to help me solve my problem. Yeah. Awesome, Bobby. Well, if a CEO or a leadership team is interested in disseminating EOS and their culture into their organization, how can they get in touch with you?
Reach out to me. I'm easy to reach, 615-207-0000. But you can email me at robert@callproof.com. And, I hope to take this to the other EOS implementers that are doing magic work, but putting a little bit of extra energy in that space and connecting you with them and finding ways to craft an EOS session they've never seen before.
Awesome. Can't wait. Thanks so much.